So good morning. First of all, apologies for the delay because of the technical error, especially for those who are watching on YouTube. Okay. So first of all, welcome for this you know journey of philosophy. If at all some of you decide to go for it, or some might be already decided. I'm sure there are two kinds of viewers now that are watching this video. One, those who have decided that they will go for philosophy as optional, and obviously some would be a kind of fence sitters thinking whether to go for that and all. So I'll try to kind of address briefly both the things, and obviously what our course is, how it is going to be, what are the things included, details of it, and the basics of what philosophy can be if some of you may not know it. Okay, if you have any question in between, you can ask. Okay, some of you already met me, so you might already have some idea. We would have had some discussion before, isn't it? So even if you have any further question on that also, you can ask me. Okay, so let's start. Now basically, what is philosophy? Now we know philosophy as a stream of academic subject, that is correct, but before that we need to understand one thing. Philosophy was the first kind of product or a child of the basic inherent quality of human mind of curiosity, inquisitiveness, and desire to know. That is the reason it is said that philosophy is mother of all knowledge, because philosophy is about knowledge, knowing the things. Okay, so what happened initially, especially that's how it was kind of termed, it was explained, it was defined in Western world, that philosophy is your love for knowledge. Now here love is strong desire to for something, so you want to know all the time. That aspect, when studied and put in words properly, okay, articulated systematically, is called philosophy. Okay, so anybody who wants to know in detail, wants to have a guts, courage, and desire to go in depth of something, is a philosopher. Okay, and best depiction of that is, best example of that is, any topic that you do your expertise, you are called PhD. Okay, so doctorate of philosophy of economy, like that. So even if you are economist, because the most important aspect of philosophy is depth, not just knowing, but not waiting or not restricting yourself until you reach the basic, very basic questions. But the same when applied to reality in general. Now when we say word reality, everything under the sun falls under it. Okay, reality of existence, which includes human existence, because humans are the, so when you go for reality, then that is called core philosophy. Now because as I said, philosophy started as efforts or endeavor to know everything, but later on what happened, other academic subjects got developed or specialized into their own niche, although they had to refer to philosophy once they go into deep enough, and philosophy was left with its own core stuff which others could not cover. Okay, so historian will tell you what was the history, what is interpretation, what are its impacts and all that, or biologist will tell you the botany, zoology, everything. But everybody is following some method. Everyone who is trying to know in depth is following some method. Yes, method in the sense something in them, be it inherent, not inherent, whatever. Who will comment on that? Okay, so philosopher is somebody who is commenting on the process of knowledge itself. Okay, and they are coming up with their own theory, that is called epistemology, that is theory of knowledge. And knowledge of what? Now you need to understand one thing. When a physicist starts their process of knowledge. What happens? Okay, they will see that apple is falling, they will think, okay, as to why what happened, then they will say, okay, this is gravity or something like that. They will come up with some universal law. If there is some doctor, for example MBBS, he will talk about some antibiotics, how they are working on bacteria, and they will have their own universal prescriptions. Now what is this universal mean? Does it mean that it applies everywhere? But then gravity is different on different planets, and sometimes nowadays we are discussing gravity may not be also there in some part. So what is this universal means? Somebody has to decide, because you are writing a very formal statement that it's a universal law of Newton's law of motion, which is a universal law. Is it a universal law? Now it is proven that it is not. In a context, Newtonian physics stops. What the point that I am trying to communicate is, somebody like philosopher has to come in and define what universal means and what it is not. Number one, simple example I took because you will understand, and where this universal or not universal for that matter can be applied. Now how would you define that? Okay, sugar is sweet, do you agree? Is it universal? For all practical purposes we will say yes, because you put sugar in tea, it will make tea sweeter. You will put in milk sweeter. Even if you put in curry, the way Gujaratis do, curry will also become sweeter. So that's why it is said, you might have heard this statement, sugar is a universal sweetener, because it has only sweetness, nothing else. Now if I say that jaggery is universal sweetener, but it is not as universal as sugar, because they are also coming up with something, because if you put jaggery in milk, it will spoil the milk, you know this. If you put jaggery in milk and boil, it will spoil the milk. So it's not a universal sweetener the way. The point is, what is this, like how are you deciding what universal is? Now the moment this question comes, like how did you decide that sugar is universal example and jaggery is not? Now the question you are basically asking is, what is your criteria for deciding what is universal, and why are you talking about universal? From where is this coming? Is it kind of a compulsion of your human mind? Because other animals are not thinking out whether this is universal or not. All these aspects is what philosophers, you have to go to him or her, that what is universal. And those who know philosophy, they know one of the major themes in Western philosophy also, universal, okay, not universal, or absolute, or relative, like that, or universal and specific, particular. Like when I say man, okay, I met a man, what is the word man means here? It's a universal word, it includes so many men. But if I say I met Chandan, I am specifying what particular. Now this is what we generally discuss in philosophy. Okay, man is a universal entity and particular Chandan is a particular entity. So now we have to define what universal and particular is, and in Indian context, Samanya and Vishesha, we will see it when we discuss about Nyaya philosophy. So the point I am saying is, philosophers will, it's like there are no restraints to philosophy, only restraint is being reasonable and logical. You can explore everything, okay. And another I would benefit, we'll come to it later, but the flow of thought I don't want to break, is when you do something like this, all different contrary views also becomes what? Acceptable to you, because you understand the basic of this also, you understand the basic of that also. For example, ideologies, people talk about socialism and capitalism, kind of broadly. Now which is good, which is bad, now who will tell you? The moment ism comes, you have to bring in philosophical mind at least. What do we call, in other optionals also, what do we call them? Thinkers. What are thinkers? What is the difference between thinkers and philosophers? Who is the, if you have to put the Venn diagram, who will be like, what kind of diagram it would be? Thinkers and philosophers. Think, now you think. Thinkers will be a smaller circle inside philosopher, because thinking is one of the ways to know things. Somebody who is traveling, like in Indian traditions or even Chinese traditions also, it is said that traveling will give you more knowledge than the amount of length of books that you might read. Okay, if you kind of, if you walk 3 kilometers, it is worth more knowledge than reading 3 kilometers of written pages. That is kind of Indian, I mean Asian, Chinese, Indian way of, that is focusing on anubhava, experience, encounter. It's not thinking in that way. So, but they are also, Buddha is also philosopher. Did Buddha mention, was Buddha himself academic? Absolutely not. Plato, Aristotle were academics, the way they put it, this way, logic, this, that. Buddha's like, he first of all come to me and experience, then we'll talk whatever you want to talk. So what I say, philosophers is the larger circle inside which thinkers will come. And if you see from that other point of view also, philosophy is a method. Philosophy has its own, philosophy is the process, philosophy is inherent, happening inside you. If you are focusing on this, you have become thinker of society, thinker of history, thinker of this, thinker of that. Because what is sociologist trying to do? Bring out what is real and what is not in societal relations. They'll come, no, this is not the way, this is the way. Yes. Or what would scientists say? No, there is, like, atoms are not unbreakable, there are subatomic ones. But till the time it was discovered, what was the case? No, atoms was indestructible. Point is, every subsequent, with proofs and all that we are assuming for now, every subsequent thinkers, I am not talking philosophers, thinkers, what are they trying to say ultimately? What I am saying is real. What was said was seemed to be real, but it is not. Agreed? So there we see, every time if I ask you something, okay, tell me something about your place, and if he says no, that is not right, what happens? What he is trying to assert? What you said appears to be true, but let me prove to you that it is not. Yes or no? Throughout our life, what is debate? Yesterday there was a famous debate happening in the parliament. Okay. By the way, good news that Pahalgam, 3 terrorists got killed. Those who actually did the Pahalgam thing. It's a good news for us. Anyway, coming back to the point. So when you assert something, the other side asserts something else. What is basically both doing? They are trying to prove that what I am saying is the real, and what other is saying is seem to be real but not. Now, okay, seem to be real but not means appearance. Appearance means, samajh rahe? Like something which appears to be but it is not. So what happens? Basically, philosophy is, throughout the philosophical debates, whatever, is the assertion of reality and negation of appearance, period. If somebody asks, what is this philosophy? Philosophy is an continuous endeavor to assert the reality and negate the appearance. In case somebody asks you, whatever is real, okay, you might know that classical example that there is a rope there, and you see it as a snake and you get scared, and then somebody comes, alright, don't worry, it's just a rope, don't worry, and then you are like, okay, thank God you came and enlightened me. ऐसा बोलते हैं. So that enlightener, whoever did it, is actually doing the job of philosopher. Okay, that's why somebody says what is real, and you might have used this word, real, but reality is, what is the context of the news? I mean context of the statement. Whatever was being said is not reality. Now whatever I am saying is reality. What is this reality and non-reality? What is reality? Reality, okay, if I ask you define what is reality, generally we are habitual to say this is reality and that is not reality. But if I ask you what is reality, define, try, you try. What is reality, or anybody online try, define reality. I am not asking what is real, whether moon is real, whether black hole is real. I am not talking about that particular thing. I am asking what do you mean when you say that it is real. Now, Pakistan is a functioning democracy. Is it reality? Anybody online? Pakistan is functioning democracy. What do you think? Nahi hai. That's what we assert. No, it's not there because, but it might appear because of the outer covering. So what are we basically doing? Bringing up the reality and keeping aside or negating the appearance. Is earth flat or round? Seems to be flat, that is correct, and it was assumed to be flat for many years in Western world. You in India we knew it, but then somebody came, okay, Galileo came and said no, it is round, and he proven whatever he did his scientific. Basically what did he do? Again the same stuff. No, what you think is real is actually appearance, reality is this. Okay, so point the philosopher is trying to make is everybody who is looking for knowledge is basically looking for differentiate, discriminate between what is real and what is apparent and assert the reality. So why don't we define what reality is and what is ultimate reality? Now this word is generally used in philosophy a lot. Ultimate, like you might have heard this, this is particularly about any person, okay, a great personality, okay, you see some great personality doing some mundane things. What justification generally will do? Ultimately है तो human being ही, उनके भी अपने. So what is this ultimately means? He might be a very good cricketer, very good orator, whatever, but है तो human being ही. Like normally we say in front of doctor, even if he is operating on me or operating on Ajmal Kasab or operating on APJ Kalam, for doctor is just a body. So ultimately we are, normally we say ultimately we have like 2 hands, 2 legs, things like that. What does this ultimately means? Transcending all that is being seen, or transcendenting or transcending all that appears, what remains is ultimate reality. Okay, the word ultimate is used in this context. Now keep aside everything and then you will reach what ultimate is. We'll come to it. I'm just giving the glimpses of as to what philosophy goes for. Okay, so we already discussed all these things, right? In India it is called Darshan Shastra. Shastra is basically a established method, technique, whatever you want to call it. Darshana is seeing, but basically meaning is encounter or anubhav. So that's why Indian philosophy is slightly different than Western philosophy. Western philosophy is behind knowledge, Indian philosophy is behind I'll tell you again, Western philosophy is behind knowledge, and the word knowledge there is very intellectual. Indian philosophy is behind knowledge, but here the word knowledge means experience. You just experience the God, finish. That's why the spiritual aspect is predominant in Indian philosophy and intellectual aspect is predominant in Western philosophy. Okay, this much if you understand, okay, you will understand many things. Next, why to study philosophy? Now I am not talking about optional. In general philosophy है ही क्यों? Like Why is there history? We know, if you know what has happened, it is always gives you cultural continuity understanding. Why is there geography? Need to know what is there outside or not. Why philosophy? Because it is natural disposition of man, that we already talked about. It is inherent. You cannot be but philosopher. You always try to know things. There is no other way of doing things. Second, it is the only stream which deals with fundamental questions of life. What is the life after death? Why am I existing? What would happen to my existence after? What is this existence? Am I existing as a body alone? Am I existing as a soul, atma, whatever you want to call it, or it is a mixed sex? What is this nature of existence? Now, why it is important, if at all you think? Because point is, these questions bother to each and everyone. Each and everyone has this question some or the other time. Especially you might know that when you are in a negative situation in your life, more likely that you think or you feel that philosophical thoughts coming to your mind. Why is this happening? Till when this will happen? Normally when you are happy and satisfied, your life will go on because you are busy in apparent things. But the moment some shock comes in life, then we start thinking, kaise ho gaya? Kyun ho gaya? What is the problem? And those questions really bother that time. Reason being, now why this happens. Okay, do you agree these kind of things happens? Like you get some negative results, you are from UPSC, we start thinking kab tak chalega ye, when would, obvious hai, it happens with each and everyone, somebody who is involved in life. But then somewhere we have to assume and start again, because we do not have answers and we may not have the training to know those answers. Because see, good answers depends on good questions. If you have right ability to ask right questions, you will have right answers. Okay, so that is what philosophy is. Very, very fundamental question as to why. And why of everything is taking you to the fundamental questions. We already discussed about mother of all knowledge. Okay, reality versus appearance already discussed. Now, analytical ability means you cannot be but logical. If you are saying something 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, then 4 plus 4 is equal to 8. It is like analytically true. You cannot change it. Can you change this? No, tomorrow it will be 2 plus 2 is equal to 5 for me. No, it won't. So there are some, we'll come to it, analytical philosophy is also there, but I'm just basically saying in normally also your analytical ability. So your ability to think critically, critical thinking, logical stamina, generally these three are connected. How much you want to dig into, what are different aspects, how are they connected, and it is very, very important. In life also we know that already, because one of the fundamental duties is also scientific temper and critical thinking and all, this, right? But as an aspirant also, very, very important to understand. See, one more thing, normally we know science means physics, chemistry and generally maths, and you think on this. Apart from physics, chemistry and maths, we have not been trained to be scientific, except those who take humanities as their subject or do BA, MA or something like, or PhD in humanities, non-scientific fields. Otherwise we are like taking things as it is, yes or no? That's why when we study paper 1, GS1, society or polity, then we'll then understand, okay, why the things are the way they are in society, also in polity also. So what happened? Your analytical ability was inspired because of the UPSC preparation, and you started thinking on society, polity and so many economy. Otherwise we will just, normally what happens, we are just taking how, whichever way the economy is, we don't know how things are happening. This happens, but now we understand why, why the things in economy also, in history also, in geography, everywhere. So basically this scientific perspective, at least being Indians of we'd say, 1995 onwards till 2015, you can say that 20-30 years, our thing is science means pure science, don't bring science in life, yes or no? Scientific temper and all, it's not very easy to bring in life. How many of you really do, except UPSC aspirants, now we have been trained in scientific issues, even like for example in sociology or otherwise also we discuss about marriage, kinship, caste, there are scientific perspectives. Then we realize, oh, I didn't realize that this was this. Ethics in GS4 we discuss as to why one has to be compassionate, why one has to be, live as an officer with integrity. Point is, we have to bring in scientific perspective. Now, only difference between scientific and analytic is scientific is heavily dependent on evidence. Analytic is heavily dependent on your ability to reason. In philosophy, there is no external data required. So what happens? Analytical, logical, critical is enough, because we are talking about metaphysics, that is theory of reality. Okay. The bigger picture means generally somebody who understands, like for example, if you understand things in stock market, what happens? Only one movement of one or two stocks or even sector don't change your perception of, because you know the whole sector, how things are going overall, how NSE is going or India's economy going, because you have the bigger picture. So you don't get fueled by or shocked by small aspects. Same happens with life. If you have a larger picture, then what happens? Your ability to kind of understand, ability to point out whatever is the real reason behind the individual things. So the bigger picture means you have broad, or I would say broadest perspective towards life, administration, society, everything, not the narrower one, which will these are things, these are not the things that you should follow being philosophy. No, it will anyway happen to you. Okay, if you follow, if you read and try to understand what the philosophers have said about life and other things, this will automatically happen in you. Okay. Next, the world like a dream full of attachments and aversions seem real until the awakening. This seems like some essay or seems like some ethics paper quote. Okay, but this is the central philosophy of Adi Shankaracharya. I am sure first time if you read, you will not understand what is this. नहीं समझ में आएगा, ठीक है? The world like the dream. So the basically so-called world is like a dream, full of attachments. Attachment we know, this is mine, this is not mine, and aversions. Aversions is repulsive thing. Seems real, well, real लगता है. It feels to be. We talked about appearance. Until the awakening. The moment awakening happens. Now what is this awakening and all? Let's restrict it, because we cannot just explain it through words. When we will come to Shankaracharya philosophy, we will understand what we are talking about. Okay, this is just, I put it as a slide to give you kind of sample, I would say. Okay, philosophy. Now as a like as on today, and for our practical purpose of philosophy optional and marks, philosophy is what? Branch of philosophy has 5 branches basically. There are many subsidiary branches people add, but basically these are the branches, and of that also these two are the most basic: epistemology and metaphysics. What is metaphysics? Theory of reality. What is epistemology? Theory of knowledge. Now what is theory of reality? What is reality? What is not reality? What are the nature of reality? क्या हो रहा है बार बार? ये टच हो रहा है क्या हमारा? ठीक है, अभी नहीं होगा. So what is reality? What is not reality? What is the nature of reality? Okay, what is the kind of reality? Now, by the way, these are different words. Whatever I'm using, what is reality means something else. What is the kinds of reality? Something else. What is the nature of reality? And by the way, this is exactly what philosophical mind is. Every word has their own meaning. Okay, you cannot use wrong word there. Okay, and it's once you do each, what happens is in every aspect of your life, automatically what happens? Your words becoming very precise. This happens, right? You wanted to say something and something else is meant because you use some general word, but very specific words, if you have specific meaning, okay, then automatically your assertion, your articulation becomes impactful, especially in essay and ethics also. So that's what metaphysics is, theory of reality. Then theory of knowledge. What is theory of knowledge? What is knowledge? What can be known? How can we know it? That is all called theory of knowledge. Then comes logic, ethics and aesthetics. Aesthetic just forget, अभी तो कुछ touch भी नहीं किया था. Why it is happening? Yeah? It seems to be real but it is not. Aesthetics उसको भूल जाओ. Logics and ethics. Logic is basically an established system of principles or rules for that matter to put forward whatever you are asserting. It is like created, but not without the sync with the way we think. That is 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Is it logical? 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Yes, it is. Okay, if I say, you might have heard this, all dogs are cats, all cats are apples. So what is logically the conclusion is? All cats are dogs and all dogs are apples. What does that mean? All cats are apples. That is what logic is. If you say A is B and B is C, that means A is C. These are some basic rules of non-contradiction, rules of identity and stuff like that. Okay, that they basically in Western world it is discussed very much, but also in Nyaya philosophy we have this. Then comes ethics. You already know what is the topic of ethics that we generally discuss in ethics. Now you know because you might have heard also ethics because it's part of syllabus now. What is ethics? What is ethics? Not studied yet? You have not heard this word before? So what is ethics? Are you ethical? Okay, that means you are. Okay, what do you mean by I am ethical? What do you want to assert when you say I am ethical? क्या बोलना चाह रहे जब हम बोलते कि मैं एथिकल हूं, मतलब क्या बोलना चाह रहे? नहीं चलिए वो दैट्स ओके, बट जितने भी तरीके से हैं उस समय आप क्या बताना चाह रहे हैं? व्हेन यू से आई एम एथिकल आप बताना क्या चाह रहे हैं? दैट्स व्हाट आई एम आस्किंग. ये दिस स्टेटमेंट इज बेटर. राइट एंड रॉन्ग यही पूछ रहा था मैं. दैट्स व्हाट फिलोसॉफी इज. इफ समबडी आस्क्स व्हाट इज एथिक्स, it is study of what is right, what is wrong. Simple. Or ability to differentiate between right and wrong. And वो तो है ही sticking to वो ethics के क्लास में आप सुनेंगे, मेरे से ही सुनेंगे. ठीक है. So that is ethics. That is also basically part of philosophy. Why? Because ultimately who will decide? On what basis would you decide what is right and what is wrong? Is murder wrong? Is killing wrong? Yes. Then why did we celebrate just 10 minutes back killing of those terrorists? No, it in that context. Okay, then define the context. That's what philosophy is. You have to be so clear that tomorrow there should not be any confusion and misuse. Okay, anyway, coming back, that's why ethics we talked about. Have you heard this deontology, utilitarian perspective in ethics, deontological perspective in ethics? Not yet. Okay, we'll study that in ethics because it is directly or very much linked with the philosophy. Okay, Why philosophy is optional? That I think most of you already know. It is interesting if you have, if see, you need to understand one thing, interesting something, if you have interest in, what happens? If you have interest in something, like you have interest in geography, I'm talking about the intellectual topics, I'm not talking about interest in flowers and food, I'm not talking about that, but your interest in geography, history, philosophy, society, whatever, what happens if you have interest? What happens if you have interest? Okay, easy to understand. That is very correct. If you have interest, it is easy to understand. Okay, but there is another line, another connection. If you understand it, you will generate the interest. Okay, so what happens? It is a cycle. Like something that you do, this you will realize almost every time in philosophy. I mean UPSC classes, not just in philosophy, anything. Like you might be doing current affairs lectures, some topic you have never heard, because obviously you are just joining now. Okay, space, something, anything. What happens when you get to know the basics of it, and tomorrow when you read newspaper, what happens? You start understanding it. The moment you understand, next day again or 2 days later, if some news comes, you are like, let me read this, this is interesting. So interest, as a UPSC, responsible UPSC aspirant, this is very important, not just about philosophy optional. As a UPSC aspirant, I am saying something is interesting will make your work easy. Agreed? Our work, like work of getting into list, selection, studying, preparation, hard work. So if something is made interesting, your work is reduced or made easy. But apart from some accidental interests, you can also put some efforts to make it interesting. How? Understand the basics. The moment you understand the basics, then the additional becomes interesting. Obviously it depends on how somebody is teaching you, many other things, but still. So if you find something boring, that means you have not understood the basics, that's why it is boring. I am not saying inherently something is like, there is no difference between any two topics with respect to them being interesting. There is a difference, like somebody will find novels more interesting than politics, somebody finds international relations more interesting than domestic one, that is okay. But still, being a UPSC aspirant, you cannot be choosy, this. You might have heard this impartiality and non-partisanship, that though at least you would have I mean known. You might not have heard the words also, even in Hindi also हमने जैसे बोलते कि ऑफिसर शुड बी इम्पार्शियल, किसी की साइड नहीं लेनी है, सिंपल है, ये तो होता ही है. सो you should not be impartial to the extent possible between GS1, GS2, history, geography. No, you have to give equal as in whatever is required attention. That ability is very basic for somebody who is studying philosophy. You cannot be like मेरे favorite, ठीक है favorite. Others also need to be studied. And generally why? Because in philosophy it is said, if you know the criticism तो समझते, of some thinker like Buddha. So if you know the criticism, you know the thinker better, because you know the other side and you also have the counter arguments if you want to really assert. Okay, so when you know the other side also, you know that thing better, right? So we talked about interesting, and philosophy is inherently interesting because it is about you. Then shortest syllabus, you already know that. Now less uncertainty means what? Question paper repeats like hell, literally hell, I am telling you. This might be an exaggeration for those who are not seen PYQs. They literally sometimes will show some samples, sometimes they repeat as if it was just reprinted, little here and there they will just repeat it. Okay, consistent results, that you already know. Okay, every time somebody is either crossing 300 or reaching 300. at least 3-4 people will be there, but obviously it depends on, because there are many other aspects, right? But I am just giving you the positive side of it, because that is what the most important thing for you to go for. Then there is, it assists in GS4 essay interview, GS also to some extent, because how, when you understand how to articulate something, bring in the other side, then have the balanced view, that becomes like a, you know, habit of your mind. If you are a somebody who is studying philosopher, all the time you are doing the same thing. Okay, for example, when you are writing any philosophy answer, it is like, even if not asked, it is inherent that you write criticism, inherent, all the questions, even if not asked. Okay, write short note on Buddha, okay, Buddha, criticism of Buddha, and then conclusion. It's so much practice that you always remain, try to remain at least balanced. Okay, helps in building logical analytical, that we already discussed. Okay, so in this context, I was saying this context is helps in GS also. Essay and all, it certainly helps, because you know most of the essays are also coming as philosophical. Then interview, that we will realize once you start preparing for interview, but for now you just take it on face value from me, that it helps immensely in interview if you are prepared philosophy very well. Okay, and direct, sometimes direct benefit is that, you know, most of the senior bureaucrats, especially retired ones, they invariably have some interest in philosophy somehow, maybe because of the age or whatever. Okay, it happens, because I have seen it personally as co-panelist also, those who come here for this thing, this no, this is no, those who come as a co-panelist with me, and otherwise also I have seen, because they generally have immense interest. Obviously they have interest in other things also, administration, politics, international relations, but the perspective is very philosophical. So, and they would have heard many, Aristotle, Plato, Wittgenstein, obviously Buddha, Shankaracharya, they would have certainly, Aurobindo, certainly they would have heard. So when they say philosophy in interview optional, it's additional benefit that they will certainly ask some questions, and it is not compulsory, but it is almost compulsory for philosophy optional. They will be asked question on philosophy, which is like our forte. आपने मेंस क्रैक किया है मतलब, ठीक है? So that's why I generally, those who are interested. Okay, obviously there are some people who do not have appreciation for abstract terms, abstract thinking. They are like, ठीक है इतना सब नहीं सोचना मुझे. Some people do not have that much either habit, interest or logical stamina to go in depth. They are like, ठीक है यहाँ तक ठीक है. What is in there for me? You know this phrase, what is in there for me, is the basic funda of life for many people, और वो भी material benefit. But then after some time we realize that is okay for your physical survival, material needs are there, but what is beyond that? The answer would be given by either poets or philosophers, and some poets are philosophers like Plato. Interesting, why? Because why of everything, existence, reality, ultimate reality, request to know the basic, so many things. Okay, I have just given, like for example, this is also part of whatever is written here is almost directly part of the syllabus, by the way. Okay, like we do discuss about what existence is. Now what is the difference between existence and reality? Simple question I ask, whatever English meaning that you know, existence and reality. I am sure most of you or sometimes all of you would think एक ही तो चीज है. वैसे practically the way we use it, it is same. Okay, does that exist? Is that real or is that actual? ये भी हम बोलते हैं. So what, something exists, something real and something actual, these three are different terms. It has its own meaning. Okay, like existence is basically something that is extended. Now extended means what? Something which occupies space. Basically it is physical connotation, material connotation. Chair exists, yes. Real, the term real is used to denote that it is not appearance. Like I have, like I have some particular emotion for someone. Is it existence? No, because emotion is not occupying any space in that way. We normally say ki emotion exists in me like that, but it is real. It is not apparent. It's like it might not even see. You might not even see from outside, but it is there. That means it is real. So real is slightly broader term. That's why we initially also use reality. Theory of existence is different. Theory of reality is different. And actual is something that exists in time. Means act. Actual is actual basically. Something that is like a act, or that is like a dynamic reality, that is called actual. Okay, so I gave you some kind of sample as to how, especially in Western philosophy and otherwise also the whole of paper 1, that's how the thought, the thinking generally has to go. And mind you, if you are habitual to, if you understand this aspect, it is very easy to, philosophy is like easiest in that way. Only thing is, if initial lectures, and will obviously my full efforts will be on that, just try to understand. See, if you do not appreciate why should I know what is real and actual, मेरे लिए तो actual real एक ही शब्द है, then you do not have the appreciation on nuances of things, and if you do not have appreciation for details, you are not fit to be administrator. But अभी अब बता रहा हूँ मैं, you might be very good at as a politician. There is a huge difference between what's the difference, basically difference between politician and administrator. If both are doing, I'm talking about both good politician and good administrator. I'm not talking about others. Corruption and all that is different thing. What is the basic difference between good politician and good administrator in their qualities or required qualities? Politician cannot afford to lose the sight of larger perspective at the cost of minute details, and exactly reverse is for administration. Administration should never lose sight on the minute details at the cost of larger this thing. Means, and in public administration also they study this, the like simple, who did Operation Sindoor? Obviously army did, air force did. Okay, again I am asking, who did the Operation Sindoor? Can you realize? No, broadly to government of India did, Modi ji, whatever government of India. Did government of India or Modi ji or even Rajnath Singh, who was a defense, actually knew कि कितने समय और क्या? कुछ नहीं. Details the implementers would know. Yes or no? Exact details who would know? The administrators, implementers, the defense people, experts, or basically soldiers. But would soldiers know exactly अटैक करना है या नहीं करना है, कहाँ तक रुकना है? Who would decide? Politician, because they are politician define or indicate will of the people, and administration define brain of the people. So nuances is very important. And by the way, very official formal letters, even politician is signing, who has written that letter, who has typed that letter, basically some administrator, because obviously politicians as a symbol cannot afford to lose, but then he will not know the nuances, the articulation, कौन सा word इस्तेमाल करना है वहाँ पे, normally we say ना state sponsored terrorism, ये term किसने coin की है? Politician ने नहीं की है, ये किसी administrator ने की है. that appropriate term has to come in. You're getting my point? Or proxy war. The word proxy, the war, you might be otherwise knowing, but administrator need to put that nuance perspective of the things, and he only can suggest, sir. And that's why administrators are permanent. एक बार आप सिलेक्ट हो जाओ फिर से थोड़ी प्रीलिम्स देनी है, 5 साल बाद देनी है क्या? मोदी जी को देनी है ना, और किसी को भी जो भी पॉलिटिशियन है. So you need to understand the context of why philosophy in the context of administration. It is going to be very easy also for you. I can guarantee you some basic things that are going to happen once you just completing the course. I am not even talking about any other things. Sincerely, you will see your vocabulary has enhanced a lot. Your usage of word, your sharpness of usage of word improved. You cannot just speak generally, at least for the even in the newspaper. And because of that, what happens? Some difficult Pratap Bhanu Mehta types article also you will be able to understand. This improvement is invariably going to happen, and it is going to impact you throughout, because it impacts you in essay. Obviously, if you have done it in that way, okay, that is basic, like not just sitting in the class. Okay. So ethics, morality, we talked about God. So these are the terms, God, Brahm. अभी तो सब एक्सप्लेन करने में कोई पॉइंट. मार्क्सिज्म, सोशलिज्म, कम्युनिज्म, these three are different things, right? लेकिन हम क्या करते हैं नॉर्मली, वो तो मार्क्सिस्ट, कम्युनिस्ट, सोशलिस्ट लोग हैं. मीन्स व्हाट, तीनों अलग अलग चीज है, थियोरेटिकली भी एंड अदरवाइज भी. टेल मी, मार्क्सिस्ट, सोशलिस्ट एंड कम्युनिस्ट, what is India closer to among these three? Why? Why? You are right. Answer is correct. Socialist. Why? Very good. First and foremost, that's how it is written in our preamble. Our preamble means we are socialist. Socialistic, not socialist, but socialistic. Okay. And Marxist and communist is not mentioned. But that is one justification. But why it is so? Why was the only word socialist was included in preamble and not communist, Marxist? You'll understand the understand when you know the meanings of each and everything. Okay, Marxist is like whatever Marx said, following it. Basically, Marxism is also socialism, but called scientific socialism. Scientific socialism is equal to Marxism. By the way, जो मैं अभी बोल रहा हूँ ये, this is what the answer is going to be, because question आता है इस पे. So scientific, before that there was utopian socialism, romantic socialism. सब बढ़िया होना चाहिए, सब equal होने चाहिए, poor also should be given support. That is romantic or utopian, wishful. Marx said no, we can achieve that scientifically. I'll tell you point by point. That is called Marxism, nothing else. And the epitome or the goal of Marxism is communism. Communism is that political system basically that Marx was asserting. Okay, will come. So that's how the things are in the philosophy lecture also, or this is like socio-political philosophy, paper 2, section A. That's how we, everything that you normally know, philosopher will ask the basic question of it as to why, how, define, explain, give arguments in support and give arguments in opposition. Okay, what are the branches of philosophy? Are they branches of philosophy or they are types of philosophy? Now there is difference between branches and types. Like a mango tree, other is jamun tree. Both have their own branches. These are types. What are the branches? Branches means something which makes that tree. It's not different types of the tree. That's how philosophy, this is the thing. You cannot loosely think in philosophy. That's the only requirement. Rest all is just naturally happens to you. You have to think, oh, branches means, tree has its own branches. So all branches put together, tree is complete. But when we say types, these two are different things in itself. Mango tree, as I said, jamun tree, neem tree, these are mango, jamun, these are types of trees. And then we know in geography, coniferous trees and bushes, they are different types of trees. But branches of trees is something that tree is made up of. We already discussed, that's why I asked, because it was previous slide. Just see how much you attention is. दे पूछा और कुछ नहीं. Yes, branches of philosophy are these. That's why it is like branch of a tree. Philosophy means epistemology, metaphysics. ये दो हमारे syllabus के main है. Logic, ethics, aesthetics उतना syllabus में direct तो नहीं है. Especially paper 1. Aesthetics is study of beauty. Like theory of beauty, theory of right and wrong. Okay, theory of logic means basically it's a system of principled rule based argument. Basically that logic itself is a system, and then this is a theory of reality and theory of knowledge. So this is theory of beauty, as to why symmetrical things look beautiful, what is that ratio that can be mathematically deduced as beautiful. Generally 3:5 is considered to be a balanced and more visually appealing rectangular shape. You know these things. Then there are some spirals which is generally considered to be geometrically beautiful. ये सब यूज होता है फैशन इंडस्ट्री में, बाय द वे. हमें नहीं पता, हमें लगता है कितना मस्त लग रहा है ये, बट दैट दे हैव ऑलरेडी डन ऑल द डिजाइनिंग बिफोर इट. सो उसकी भी एक थियरी है जो बहुत पहले से है, लाइक व्हाट मेक्स समथिंग particular thing as visually appealing or beautiful. In elite English, even today it is the case, elite English clubs or elite English the whole groups, I would say, or their own what is parlance. What was the definition of somebody is cultured, sabhya, or somebody who understands philosophy, literally somebody who is ethical and somebody who has appreciation for beauty. Literally these were like almost written in the books, I would say. These are like most assumed. If you have this only, you are cultured. So somebody who this they used to use pejoratively समझते हैं, negatively, गाली जैसा, pejoratively against those. अरे उनका क्या है, उनको तो they do not even have appreciation for beauty. They are like not cultured enough. So beauty was part of being cultured, and that's why they had the theory of beauty. Okay. Then something like idea, mind, concept. What is the difference between concept and idea? Anyway, वही स्टडी करेंगे. आप बोलेंगे सर आप ही पूछ रहे हैं अभी. I'm just giving you the glimpse. Chitta, manas is different, buddhi is different, self is different, and these are actually different things, well established. I'm not asking you to assume it. Obviously, I'm asking you to assume it till the time we actually study that chapter of yoga, philosophy and all. Okay. Then obviously the whole section of paper 2, religion. What is God? Is God there? Is religion required? Is it compulsory? Without religion, can there be completely everything secular? Okay. And how pluralistic religion, monistic religion, monotheistic religions. Everything that if you thoroughly read newspapers, there will be at least daily, there will be some 3, 4, 5 terms. If you really pay attention, you will realize that I need to know this. You will know it. What is sovereignty? What is liberty? These are like terms I am just giving you. So these are all interesting things. Like somebody said India's sovereignty was compromised recently. Yesterday also in the opposition side said sovereignty was compromised. Why? Why was they saying that? Trump, Narendra surrender. So the highest office of government of India, or India for that matter, surrender in front of other country. What does that mean? We compromised, if we assume that is to be true, which is not, but we'll assume for sake of understanding our debate. So what does that mean? That we lost or we compromised on our sovereignty. Samprabhuta, sovereignty. Now, what is sovereignty? Syllabus ka part hai. My point is, if you understand, okay, so sovereignty aise nahi hota. Sovereign is, there are many aspects to it. Like when you compromise on some things for sake of United Nations, are you not compromising sovereignty? Yes, to some extent. To some extent, it is one of the debates. Like these multinational groupings, United Nation organizations, they are working as some compromise, but the better word is restriction on sovereignty, right? So you might have heard again when Russia attacked Ukraine, it was an attack on a sovereign nation, because these terms are not just simple terms. Direct attack on sovereign nation is a very big phrase to be used. Did they use when we did Operation Sindhu? Is anybody said? Did anybody say that Operation Sindhu was nothing but India's direct attack on Pakistan's sovereignty? Anybody said that? That's the beauty of Operation Sindhu. But again, coming back to the point is, what is sovereignty? Okay, what is liberty, equality, justice? What are the different theories of that? Is what our syllabus is going to be, right? Shortest syllabus, okay, obviously less than 100 lectures. Sometimes it is 100. Generally, last 5 batches it has never gone beyond 100. That's why I say that it is less than 100. Notes are very short. Okay, after sufficient revision, these are just take it as a face value, because everything you may not know now. I'm just giving you what is going to be. Those who have gone through, they know what I'm talking about. After sufficient revision, okay, one page one thinker situation will come. Now this is very important because you have only 5 days just before mains. I mean after GS and before philosophy, you have 5 days to prepare. So you have to have something that you can revise 3-4 times then and there itself. That's the reason you have to come to this. Okay, and you can aram se do it. I can literally tell you it's the shortest if you understand it properly. If you understand the terms, if you pay attention to the class, it is the shortest syllabus for sure. For sure. Okay. Nothing from current affairs to be remembered as such. To be remembered. If anyway you have to do current affairs for your GS4, that whatever you do GS3, GS2 is more than sufficient here. Only interpretation is little required. Every philosopher, there are very limited points. If you study Plato itself, it will take 2 years, but we have only 2 points. This theory of ideas, that's all. Allegory of cave, that's all. Only 2 points, and that's what the question will come. Plato's theory of ideas, Plato's theory of ideas, Plato's theory of ideas. They will use the different word. Plato's metaphysics, basically Plato's theory of ideas, because his metaphysics means what? When we say Plato's metaphysics, what does that mean? What does that mean? Plato's metaphysics, Plato का metaphysics, what does that mean? कुछ भी समझ, कुछ नहीं. मेटाफिजिक्स शब्द का मतलब क्या है? Theory of reality. What is theory? Okay, what is the meaning of the word theory of reality? Simple, ekdam. See, this is the thing. Normally we have been trained to, I don't know why, unnecessarily think very, intellect. It's very common sense. Only terms are difficult. Theory of reality, इसका क्या मतलब है? Okay, like मेरी theory of reality, इसका क्या मतलब है? मेरी थियरी ऑफ रियलिटी, मिस्टर संदीप की थियरी ऑफ रियलिटी, राहुल की थियरी ऑफ रियलिटी, मतलब क्या है? उनका मेटाफिजिक्स। ओके, सो राहुल्स मेटाफिजिक्स मीन्स राहुल का थियरी ऑफ रियलिटी, प्लेटोस मेटाफिजिक्स इज प्लेटोस थियरी ऑफ रियलिटी। नाउ व्हाट डज द थियरी ऑफ रियलिटी मीन्स? राहुल का थियरी ऑफ रियलिटी पढ़ा मैंने, मतलब क्या क्या पढ़ा होगा? दैट इज ही वांट टू कन्वे हिज थियरी, थियरी ऑफ रियलिटी। सी यही तो, यस, वॉट एवर ही थिंक्स रियल क्या है, क्या रियल नहीं है, कितना रियल है, कैसे रियल है, इसके बारे में जो भी उसने बातें की हैं, इफ इट इज बीन पुट इन सिस्टमेटिक ऑर्डर इट बिकम्स थियरी। सो जैसे प्लेटो आएगा बोलेगा देखो मेरे हिसाब से ना, उदाहरण दे रहा हूं मैं, ऐसा नहीं है, ये चेयर तो है नहीं, वो आपको लग रही है, you feel that chair is there but actually the chair, I'll prove it to you, and then he gives theory whatever, we may not agree। ये पूरा जो उसका पैराग्राफ है, पूरा जो एक दो किताबें हैं, वो प्लेटो का थियरी ऑफ रियलिटी हो गया, मतलब प्लेटो का मेटाफिजिक्स हो गया। जैसे बुद्धा आएंगे, बुद्धा क्या बोलेंगे कि एवरीथिंग इज मोमेंट्री। जैसे पानी, नदी का पानी होता है, चलता रहता है, यू कैनॉट जस्ट से दैट दिस इज द रिवर, वो तो फ्लो हो रही है, कहाँ है रिवर, अभी इधर थी वो चली गई आगे। ये जो एक्सप्लेनेशन है वो क्या है? बुद्धाज मेटाफिजिक्स। आप समझ रहे आ रहे? हर एक का अपना एक स्टोरी है बेसिकली। मेटाफिजिक्स मतलब अपना एक स्टोरी समझ लो आप, उनकी अपनी कहानी है कि ऐसे नहीं, मेरे हिसाब से जिंदगी, जैसे आप बोलते हैं ना, उनका नजरिया बोल सकते हैं, पर्सपेक्टिव बोल सकते हैं, बट अगेन इट्स ओनली फॉर अंडरस्टैंडिंग। द ओनली वर्ड टू बी यूज्ड इन एग्जामिनेशन इज metaphysics। So when we say Plato's metaphysics, what does that mean? Whatever Plato has written in his theory talking about reality, what is real, what is not real. So Plato says everything is basically ideas, okay, and so called physical things are just copies of ideas। हो गया उसका मेटाफिजिक्स। और भी डिटेल्स है, आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू ग्लिम्स नाउ। सो ये चेयर है, एक्चुअली ये चेयर रियल नहीं है, सो कॉल्ड फिजिकल, वो तो कॉपी है, एक चेयर करके कॉन्सेप्ट है इधर उसकी। सो रियलिटी क्या हो गई? आइडियाज इन द माइंड, नॉट द चेयर। तो ऐसी हर एक की थ्योरी, उसका क्रिटिसिज्म भी है, वी आर नॉट गेटिंग इनटू राइट और रॉन्ग, ओके, और अपीलिंग और नॉट अपीलिंग, व्हाटएवर इट इज, ओके। सो my point is everybody like theory of ideas we talk about, ऐसे everybody has their own, like charvak, simple, you know, to start off with you always like to always love charvak's philosophy। चार्वाक बोलते देखो ये गॉड वॉड कुछ नहीं होता, हमें भी लगता है बहुत बार, स्पेशली व्हेन वी आर इन फन, अरे कुछ नहीं होता छोड़ दो। वो तो तब जब जिंदगी में बहुत बड़ा धक्का लग जाता है, फिर हम बोलते हैं कि भगवान क्या कर रहे हो, वो बोलेंगे इतने दिन तो याद नहीं आ रहे थे आप। ठीक है, ये होता है, सबके साथ होता है। सो पॉइंट इज, चार्वाक से कि ऋणम कृत्वा घृतम पिबेत, घी ऋण वन निकालो, लोन निकालो, घी पियो, चिल करो, ये कुछ नहीं है, मरने के बाद नो बडी इज गोइंग टू आस्क यू, ना उसके बाद आत्मा है, ना कोई जन्म है, कुछ नहीं है, अभी है जितना है, लूटना है लूटो, लूटो मतलब आई एम जस्ट यूजिंग सिंपल कॉमन सेंसिकल वर्ड, ऐसा उन्होंने बोला नहीं है, बट यावत जीवित सुखम जीवित, जब तक जीवित है सुख सुख में रहो, एंड ऋणम कृत्वा घृतम पिबेत, लोन निकालो, ऋण मतलब लोन, और घृतम मीन्स बेसिकली घी, घृतम पिबेत, ये एक उनकी फिलोसॉफी है भाई, ये उनका मेटाफिजिक्स है। मेटाफिजिक्स है थोड़ा अलग, मैटर इज द ओनली रियलिटी, वो मेटाफिजिक्स हो गया, ये एथिक्स हो गया, क्योंकि यहाँ पे वो बता रहा है करना क्या है क्या नहीं करना है, डूज एंड डोंट्स, सो वो एथिक्स हो गया। ये रियल है, ये नहीं रियल है, गॉड नहीं है, ये मेटाफिजिक्स हो गया, ऐसे होता है वो। ठीक है, तो somebody से इफ आई से कि यू नो रियलिटी इज गॉड ओनली, मैं किसकी बात कर रहा हूँ? मेरा मेटाफिजिक्स दे रहा हूँ। फिर मैं बोल रहा हूँ गॉड को जानने का तरीका एक ही है कि रिलीजियस किताबें पढ़ो, तो मैं क्या बता रहा हूँ? मेरी एपिस्टेमोलॉजी, वेरी गुड। एंड मैंने ऐसे किताब ने बताया है कि सुबह 5 बजे उठ के ये करना है, मैं अपना एथिक्स बता रहा हूँ, ये नहीं करना है, ये वो करना है, किसी को चोरी नहीं करना है, या किसी कुछ भी, तो ये हो गया एथिक्स, दैट्स हाउ इट वर्क्स। ओके, थ्योरी ऑफ नॉलेज, क्रिटिक, सब ठीक है, ये सब एग्जांपल्स हैं जस्ट फॉर सेक ऑफ यू टू अंडरस्टैंड कि सिलेबस छोटा है ओनली व्हेन यू अंडरस्टैंड, बट इट इज एक्चुअली छोटा वंस यू अंडरस्टैंड। No, so everything, your question is correct, everything that I have, because see epistemology भी एक theory है, theory of knowledge, metaphysics भी एक theory है, theory of reality, but when it comes to argumentation कि मुझे आपको बताना है वो theory, तो कोई ऐसी चीज होनी चाहिए, we have to have something that you also agree upon and I also agree upon, that language, the process, like what happens in court, there is this side vakil and that side vakil, advocates, lawyers, both follow some terminology, some method, some things, so that both are on same page, they will put their point. So logic is that rule based system which we have agreed upon to put forth that philosophy, that's all. थियरी अलग हो जाएगी, लॉजिक सभी वही फॉलो करेंगे, जैसे यू आर चारवाक, ओके, आई एम बुद्धा एंड ही इज शंकराचार्य, ऑल हैव डिफरेंट, एब्सोल्युटली डिफरेंट मेटाफिजिक्स। आप बोलते गॉड है ही नहीं, बुद्धा बोलते हैं गॉड नहीं है लेकिन निर्वाण तो है, शंकराचार्य बोलते हैं कि गॉड भी है और निर्वाण और वो मोक्ष भी है, कंप्लीटली अलग है। लेकिन हाउ वुड आई कम्युनिकेट टू यू, आप मुझे काउंटर कैसे करेंगे, मैं आपको काउंटर, ये एक लॉजिकल सिस्टम होती है। तो लॉजिक इज दैट बेसिकली रूल बेस्ड सिस्टम इन विच यू पुट योर आर्ग्यूमेंट्स। जैसे बेसिक आर्ग्यूमेंट इज ए कैनॉट बी नॉट ए, a thing cannot be equated with its reverse, मतलब आप समझ रहे हैं, दिस इज कॉल्ड लॉ ऑफ नॉन कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन। ए और पी व्हाटएवर और एक्स कैन नॉट बी इक्वल टू नॉट एक्स, नहीं तो फिर लॉजिक कहां से हुआ, ये तो आप भी मानते हैं। मैं कल लखनऊ में था, क्योंकि मैं वहां गया नहीं, आप बोलेंगे हैं गया नहीं और था दोनों अपोजिट नहीं हो गए, तो इलॉजिकल हो गया। तो ऐसा एक लॉजिक की एक सिस्टम बनाते हैं फॉर सेक ऑफ आर्गुमेंट, तो उसमें लॉ ऑफ नॉन कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन है ए, ओके, और जैसे ए इज इक्वल टू बी एंड बी इज इक्वल टू सी, तो ऑटोमेटिक ए इज इक्वल टू सी हो जाएगा, है ना। तो नॉर्मली हम बोलते हैं ना पॉलिटिक्स में, इफ चिराग पासवान हैज सेड समथिंग एंड चिराग पासवान इज इक्वल टू एनडीए एंड एनडीए इज इक्वल टू मोदी, तो ये उनका स्टेटमेंट मोदी का स्टेटमेंट माना जाता ही है, पूछते हैं कि उनको निकालो फिर, तो एक लॉजिक होता ही है, और हम उसको इलॉजिकल नहीं मानते बाय द वे, अरे आप उसके यू पार्ट ऑफ द अलायंस सो यू गिव द आंसर, तो ही हैज टू गिव सम आंसर, सो देयर आर सम रूल्स व्हिच लॉजिक फॉलोज, बस उसका जो डिटेल स्टडी होता है कि क्या रूल होने चाहिए, व्हाट इज द बेसिस ऑफ द रूल, क्यों फॉलो करना है, so there has to be some reasonable explanation as to why, okay, that is what logic is. So it's not that part of epistemology that way. Epistemology to everything is part of reality, everything is part of knowing the reality. However, हम जब philosophy पढ़ेंगे you'll understand everything has its, but हमारे सिलेबस में लॉजिक बहुत डायरेक्टली है नहीं। आप बोल सकते हैं, see if you know the reality, logic is to connect between you and the listener rather than any other thing, okay, and also within the theory also, theory has to be logical, the whole system, because if you say there is Brahm, then accordingly they will ask, okay, where I, मुझे क्यों नहीं दिखता, फिर उसका एक्सप्लेनेशन देना पड़ेगा। if I say Brahm is the only reality, obviously तो you will ask कि फिर दिखता क्यों नहीं, तो फिर मैं बोलूँगा कि नहीं वो नहीं है, फिर you're getting my point. Can I say, if I am not like if I say Brahm is the only reality, and then second statement if I say that anything that cannot be seen by eyes doesn't exist, तो फिर contradict तो ब्रह्म ही exist नहीं करता फिर। So there is always a system of logic, इट शुड नॉट, इट शुड बेसिकली कॉन्ट्ररी नहीं जाना एक दूसरे के, और फिर वही a प्लस बी वाला, a इज इक्वल टू बी, और 2 + 2 इज इक्वल टू 4 इज ऑल्सो लॉजिक. इट इज बेसिकली एनालिटिकल मोर देन लॉजिकल. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट वेराइटी टेबल, वो तो क्या ही बताएं, इसका भी तो ये सब पता है क्या है. देखो, more than 25% questions get repeated every year. आप if you go back and see, you'll see only thing is they'll change the word little bit. कुछ एग्जाम्पल भी मैंने आगे दिए होंगे, I'll just tell you. जैसे प्लेटोस थ्योरी ऑफ फॉर्म्स कितनी बार पूछा है, 22, 21, 16, 15, 13, 12, 11, इतनी बार वो पूछ चुके ऑलरेडी. बट हाउ would they ask what is the Plato's theory of ideas? Sometimes they will say Plato's theory of forms. सेम ही चीज है वो, सिलेबस में विल सी इट. theory of forms बोलो, theory of ideas बोलो, और they will say Plato's metaphysics. बेसिकली क्या है, Plato's theory of ideas. ओके तो वो इतनी बार आ चुका है अभी तक, और वो भी 2011 से, उसके पहले का मैंने सोचा इतना क्या ही पीछे जाना. जैसे ये तो सबसे फेवरेट क्वेश्चन है, ह्यूम ऑन कॉजिशन. almost every time they will ask, every alternate time, Hume's thoughts on causation, Hume on induction. सिंपल सीधा कंसेप्ट है, और उसके फिक्स पॉइंट्स है, क्रिटिसिज्म है, कंक्लूजन है, खत्म. ठीक है, अरिस्टोटल एक्चुअलिटी पोटेंशियलिटी. ओके, क्वाइन से, इसका तो पता है, क्वाइन थिंकर है, सिंथेटिक एनालिटिक डिस्टिंक्शन, वही एक पॉइंट है सिलेबस का, और पॉइंट ही नहीं, सिलेबस में ही नहीं है, और वही कितनी बार पूछ रहे हैं, 21, 19, 16, 15, 12, एक ही पॉइंट. तो जस्ट इमेजिन ऐसे, ये तो मैंने सैंपल निकाले हैं बाय द वे. ठीक है, जैसे चारवाक ऑन इन्फरेंस, पूरे चारवाक का फिलोसॉफी है, जो टफ सो कॉल्ड पार्ट है, जो सबसे इजी है, वैसे वो दूसरे तो है ही नहीं, खड़े नहीं रहते उसमें, कुछ है ही नहीं, सिंपल है बहुत. बट ये जो है ना चारवाक ऑन इन्फरेंस, उसके आर्गुमेंट्स है, इतनी बार पूछे, सिर्फ एक आर्गुमेंट. आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट चारवाक एज द होल सिलेबस, उसमें भी सिर्फ एक, जैसे चारवाक ऑन इन्फरेंस, ये खुद सिर्फ और सिर्फ 10 मार्क 15 मार्क का ही मैटर है. आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि वो एक बड़ा चैप्टर में से एक पूछा है उन्होंने, वही है, और वही 10 मार्क का ही है फॉर आवर सिलेबस, सेक ऑफ सिलेबस. सांख्य ऑन सत्कार्यवाद, औरबिंदो. ठीक है, सी जस्टिस रोल्स कितनी बार पूछा है, 23, 21, 19, 16, एंड एथिक्स में भी पूछ लिया उन्होंने 2016 में, एज इट इज, जॉन रॉल्स थ्योरी ऑफ जस्टिस, पेपर 4. ठीक है, जैसे सॉवरेनिटी, इफ यू हैव सीन द चैप्टर, कहाँ गया, हाँ ये तो खत्म हो गया ना. हाँ, रोल्स ऑफ जस्टिस, जैसे ऑस्टिन बॉर्डिन कौटिल्य, 4 ही लोग हैं सॉवरेनिटी में, कोई एक तो आएगा ही, और उसी का मॉडल आएगा, और वही लिखना है जो फिक्स है. सो इट इज, व्हेन इट कम्स टू एग्जामिनेशन, ओनली थिंग इज you need to understand it properly, the terms. You cannot use loose terms there. Number 2, revise. Number 3, write answers. And I can guarantee philosophy, you can just keep it. आपको टेंशन लेने की जरूरत ही नहीं है, आप किसी और का टेंशन लो, आप GS 1 2 3 का ले लो टेंशन. अगर प्रॉपरली फॉलो, यू कैन जस्ट पुट इट इन रूटीन एंड थिंग्स विल जस्ट हैपन. इतना क्लियर है. इंडिविजुअल राइट्स कितनी बार आया देखो, इसमें भी सेम ही पॉइंट है, इंडिविजुअल वर्सेस स्टेट. कि state is the one who gives you right, individual is something which has rights. Rights, duties, rights, human rights, fundamental rights. 23, 22, 21, 19, every year the question has come. Immortality, पता है सिलेबस का पॉइंट क्या है, इमोर्टेलिटी ऑफ सोल एंड रीबर्थ, इतना ही पॉइंट है. उसमें हर साल एक क्वेश्चन है, 1-2 साल बीच में, जैसे 19 और 18 रह गया, फिर ये गलती से 26 हो गया, ये 16 है, 15, 14 एवरी ईयर. रिलीजन विदाउट गॉड एंड रिलीजन विदाउट मॉरलिटी, ऑलमोस्ट एवरी ईयर. ये दोनों में से एक आएगा, और एक ही उसका आंसर है फिक्स्ड, आर्गुमेंट 1, आर्गुमेंट 2, आर्गुमेंट 3, बस. बट प्रॉब्लम, बस आप बोलेंगे फिर इतना है, तो फिर उसका एक प्रॉब्लम मेन क्या है, देखो. नंबर 1, उसको जो पहला स्टेप है ना, उसमें बहुत लोग फंबल करते हैं. लेट इट मी बी वेरी ब्लंट एंड ऑनेस्ट. पहले स्टेप में या तो डीले करते हैं, ये पता नहीं एक थोड़ा सा ट्रेंड बन गया फिलोसॉफी में, मैं इधर उधर से कई वीडियोस मिल जाएंगे, कुछ मिल जाएंगे, सबको पता है अभी मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ, और हो जाएगा, नहीं होता अनलेस यू हैव द बैकग्राउंड। हो जाता है फिर 3 साल लगेंगे, और फिर जब आते हैं, क्योंकि मेरे पास भी आ जाते हैं ना, जैसे तो मैंने तो खुद से ही पढ़ा और आ गया, ठीक है कोई बात नहीं, खुद से पढ़ा का मतलब मुझे पता होता है क्या, हमें भी पता होता ही है सब, खुद से पढ़ा मतलब टेलीग्राम पे कुछ वीडियो मिल गए थे वो देख लिए, ठीक है कोई बात नहीं, कुछ लोगों को आता है समझ में, आई एम नॉट सेइंग, सम आर वेरी स्मार्ट, सम आर बीए एमए, तो उनको तो यू नो दे हैव डन देयर ग्रेजुएशन इन फिलोसॉफी, तो दे हैव लिसन टू सम गुड थिंग मेंटर्स। और इस पर्टिकुलर, और दूसरा क्या है, फिलोसॉफी यू नो जनरली द यू नो इट इज परसीव्ड टू बी वेरी मिस्टिकल, पता नहीं क्या चलता रहता है, थोड़ा मिस्टिकल समझ रहे हो, रहस्यमयी। दैट इज द रीजन मेनी पीपल थिंक दैट नहीं नहीं यार वो तो छोड़ो, अदरवाइज बट थिंग्स आर चेंजिंग नाउ, बट 2010 टू आई थिंक 2015-16 तक many people used to take philosophy. There was time, I think 2014-13, more people took philosophy than history. That was the trend. क्योंकि उस समय ट्रेंड था और उस समय मार्क्स भी आते थे, नॉट दैट उसके बाद मार्क्स नहीं आए, मार्क्स भी आ रहे हैं, लेकिन फिर कभी कभी किसी और सब्जेक्ट को, मतलब आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दोज यू नो टिपिकल इंजीनियर्स, दोज हु डोंट वांट टू गो फॉर देयर ओन सब्जेक्ट, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट देम, अदरवाइज ग्रेजुएशन का सब्जेक्ट हर कोई लेता ही है, ठीक है। So, and second, the one thing is it is generally perceived to be very enigmatic, okay, rahasyamayee types. Second is perhaps the initial understanding phase they generally do not get the access to, unko wo and another problem is we discuss about reality and appearance in philosophy, but same they become victim of, उनको लगता है मुझे तो समझ में आ गया, it appears to them that they have understood. The moment, because I have realized like every time I find somebody like this, and you know regularly I keep on meeting students like this, if I ask some basic question also they don't know, because they have not understood, they have not, because philosophy cannot be understood unless you have somebody who can whom you can ask counter question, get the answer, then think, debate in the sense, not in the debate sense, but you at least have some doubts clarified, like you just asked that logic is part of epistemology only, then I told you how it is not, and your concept becomes little polished, little more polished than it was before. So the conceptual clarity is what people somehow neglect. They thought कुछ नहीं मैं पढ़ के निकाल लूंगा, ऐसा नहीं होता, and ऐसे कहीं भी नहीं होता for your kind information in new option, unless you have done graduation, because in graduation or post graduation for sure you would have listened to some good classes in the colleges, एक दो तो अच्छे टीचर होते ही हैं, तो you have some interest. And second is sometimes people take this any particular optional or for that matter philosophy just for sake of doing it, कि सबने ले लिया इसलिए मैं भी ले रहा हूँ, ठीक है, ओ मुझे वो यही नहीं आ रहे थे, करो बंद करो, वो कमेंट्स अभी दिख गए एकदम से, ओके हरीश मिलिंद, आई कुड नॉट सी दी, ठीक है नो प्रॉब्लम, I could not see the comments, now I could see. Anyway, so one thing is never skip this part, that is like an earnest request, never skip this part of understanding, then everything becomes easy, okay. Like critically examine Hume's views on relation on cause and effect, 2016, evaluate critically Hume's criticism theory of causation, एक ही question है, 2014 and 15, 14 and this came on 2016 for same marks. What are the main arguments offered by Kant to prove the a priori synthetic judgment? How are synthetic a priori judgment justified according to Kant? Same question. Can you even imagine that you can already know around 25 to 30% of the question before entering into the classroom? and not just know, you already practiced this at least 2-3 times. Isn't it wonderful? But obviously we'll reach there slowly. It takes time. Okay. What is the dialectical method in the philosophy of Hegel? How does this method help him realizing absolute? Discuss Hegel's dialectical method. Okay, explain how this dialectical method leads him to. Literally, this came 2021-22. Literally next year, same question. Okay, establish the tenability of the later Wittgenstein, not notion of language as form of life. Bring out the relationship between language games and form of life. सेम क्वेश्चन है, आप लोग को लगेगा थोड़ा अलग है, वो नोशन ऑफ लैंग्वेज एंड लैंग्वेज गेम्स एक ही चीज है, राइट. सो दीज आर सम एग्जांपल बाय द वे, बिकॉज वैसे तो एग्जांपल इतने सारे हैं. ठीक, फिर वो तो रिजल्ट आपको पता ही, हर साल कोई ना कोई. ओनली 2020 में थोड़ा सा 275, इट वाज लाइक लिटिल लेस, बट ऑल्दो उस समय सभी का कम था क्योंकि ऑल इंडिया रैंक 3 है जो भी पर्सन है, 274 आने के बावजूद. दैट इज बिकॉज सभी का कम था, अदरवाइज 300 के ऊपर कोई बहुत बड़ी बात नहीं है. देन दिस इज अकॉर्डिंग टू 2021. ये यूपीसी का रिपोर्ट आता है ना, एनुअल रिपोर्ट देखा है, यूपीएससी कम्स अप विद सम एनुअल रिपोर्ट, उसमें 6 to 8% सिलेक्शन रेशियो है. एंड एक ही बार बस 2018 में दिस वाज 9%, विच इज प्रिटी गुड. ठीक है, अमॉन्ग ह्यूमैनिटीज सब्जेक्ट, बिकॉज यू नो किसका सबसे ज्यादा होता है, ये सब ऑड सब्जेक्ट्स है ना, उन्हीं का होता है 13%. कन्नड़ लिटरेचर, मलयालम लिटरेचर, इकोनॉमिक्स, लॉ, क्योंकि वो ओनली ग्रेजुएट्स वहां पे देते हैं, तो दे हैव देयर ओन अंडरस्टैंडिंग. 6 साल दिए, 5 साल दिए, 4 साल दिए. ओके, इंजीनियरिंग के भी सब्जेक्ट कुछ होते हैं, बट जो हम सब्जेक्ट लेते हैं, सोशियोलॉजी, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, पॉल साइंस, ज्योग्राफी, हिस्ट्री, फिलोसफी, साइकोलॉजी, उसमें फिर यही रेंज रहता है. कुछ लोगों का जैसे हिस्ट्री वगैरह का भी कम है, एंथ्रो सोशो का थोड़ा ज़्यादा है, 6.5 ऐसा ऊपर नीचे होता रहता है. ठीक है, बट हाँ, टॉपर्स वाला जो मार्क्स है ना, इफ यू पुट राइट एफर्ट्स ना, आप बहुत ज़्यादा चांस है. ठीक है, लिंक विद GS4, ये जैसे मॉरल थिंकर्स एंड फिलोसोफर पूरा चैप्टर ही है, और उसमें 30 मार्क्स कोर्स के फिक्स ही हैं फिलोसॉफी के लिंक में अगर देखें. ठीक, तो ये कुछ एग्जांपल्स हैं, ये एथिक्स के क्लास में तो मैं लेता ही हूँ. ठीक है, ओके, जैसे आई काउंट हिम ब्रेवर हु ओवरकम्स हिज डिजायर्स देन हिम हु ओवरकम्स हिज एनिमीज. समझ में नहीं आएगा एक रीडिंग में, 2-3 बार पढ़ो तो भी नहीं समझ में आएगा. क्यों? क्योंकि अभी तक फिलोसॉफी के कंटेक्स्ट में पढ़े नहीं है. बट दीज आर लाइक अगेन फिक्स 30 मार्क्स. प्लीज ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड, फिक्स्ड 30 मार्क्स. यूपीएससी of late have established this pattern now. Okay, question number 3A, 3B, 3C is fixed quotes. पहले बहुत चेंजेस किए यूपीएससी ने, थोड़ा एक्सपेरिमेंट्स किए. नाउ यूपीएससी इज ऑलमोस्ट लाइक क्वेश्चन 1AB, 2AB थ्योरी होता है एथिक्स का, एथिक्स आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट, एंड क्वेश्चन 3ABC इज कोट्स, राइट. नाउ वो डायरेक्टली हेल्प बहुत रेयरली करता है. इट्स नॉट दैट डायरेक्ट, मतलब ये सिलेबस से पढ़ के लिख दिया, ऐसा नहीं होता. बट वैसे भी नोबडी नोज व्हाट इज द सिलेबस ऑफ द कोर्स ना, ऐसा नहीं कि ये पढ़ के जाओ तो कोर्स वुड बी इजी फॉर यू टू डू इट, बट इट ऑलवेज हेल्प्स यू because you already like an unexamined life is not worth living. Those are, and these are PY quiz, huh? These are UPSC questions, 2013, 13, 19, 22 samples again. These are like thinkers, philosophers that we talk about. Okay, ठीक है. ये ethics vocabulary that we already talk about. General vocabulary, self, selflessness, conscience, moral obligation, categorical imperative. What is the meaning of this term? ये तो normally तो हम बहुत बार use करते हैं. Like you know, this happens every time I take this ethics का class also, ना. People talk consciousness. Consciousness and conscience is a very different thing. Very, very different thing, not just different thing. Consciousness is something different. Okay, and being conscious, okay, or consciousness in a biological term is very different. In philosophical term is different. Absolutely different, and I would say like substantially different. And conscience और conscience वो तो और ही अलग चीज है. हम बहुत मतलब मेजॉरिटी स्टूडेंट बिकॉज दे आर न्यू, स्पेशली फाउंडेशन स्टूडेंट, जीएस फाउंडेशन एथिक्स क्लास में बोलते कॉन्शियसनेस, सर आई विल गो विथ माय कॉन्शियसनेस. नॉट कॉन्शियसनेस, कॉन्साइंस. और दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू टू बिल्ड प्रॉपर अंडरस्टैंडिंग। ओके, तो ये तो एथिक्स में तो आ ही जाता है, फिलोसफी में, ठीक है। लिंक विथ एसे, तो now most of the essays are coming from the philosophical thing. Now the major thing that happens with essay, see, you need to understand, essay is not some answer that you have to answer in a particular way. It is something that you have to attempt to. The very meaning of the word essay is attempt. तो बहुत बार क्या होता है, the philosophical nature of the essay itself is first googly, कि समझ में नहीं आ रहा है इसमें क्या लिखे, the real is rational, rational is real, बाप रे समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा है, this happened. Okay, thinking is like a game, it does not begin unless there is an opposite team. ऐसा ये यूपीएससी के एसेज है। अब इसमें क्या लिखे, बाय द वे 250 मार्क्स का मामला रहता है ये। 250 मार्क्स मतलब समझ रहे हो, हिस्ट्री ज्योग्राफी सोसाइटी पुट टुगेदर, कितना टाइम देते हैं हम इसके लिए, हिस्ट्री ज्योग्राफी सोसाइटी पुट टुगेदर 215, एक अकेला एसे इज 250। एंड बाय द वे history geography and society will put lot of efforts to get 95 marks. In essay you will anyway get 95 without efforts. If you really put efforts you can reach 115, 120, 125. So margin कहाँ है? Okay, so okay, you cannot step twice in the same river. क्या मतलब है इसका, समझ में आ जाता है philosophy if you have gone through, because you are habitual to these kind of things. Okay, link with interview वो ऑलरेडी मैंने आपको बोल दिया मोटा मोटा, ठीक है, आई विल नॉट रिपीट बिकॉज थोड़ा टाइम भी अभी कम है। लिंक विद जीएस, आर्ट एंड कल्चर, इंडियन स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट, इस सिलेबस का पॉइंट है, छोटा पॉइंट है, बट प्रीलिम्स में और मेंस में एक क्वेश्चन आ गया तो उतना ही फायदा हो ही जाता है, इसलिए छोटा पॉइंट है। बुद्धिज्म, जैनिज्म वगैरह, क्लासिकल इंडियन स्कूल्स ऑफ फिलोसॉफी, षडदर्शन, षडदर्शन इज 6 स्कूल्स ऑफ क्लासिकल फिलोसॉफिकल अंडरपिनिंग्स ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन मोरालिटी, ये तो सवाल एवरी 2-3 years दे विल आस्क इन एथिक्स, रिलीजन स्टडीज, हिंदुइज्म, क्रिश्चियन, वो ठीक है। Okay, and as I said, the ability to write critically, write systematically is what the basic benefit. Optional, very briefly, because I assume most of you already know. Okay, paper 1 has 2 sections, paper 2 has 2 sections. Paper 1 has Western philosophy, Indian philosophy, paper 2 has socio-political philosophy, philosophy of religion. क्वेश्चन पेपर कैसे होता है, पेपर 1 पेपर 2 उसमें भी सेक्शन ए सेक्शन बी होता है, सेक्शन ए सेक्शन बी, वैसे पेपर एक्चुअल पेपर में क्वेश्चन 1 and 5 इज कंपल्सरी। तो इसका क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 और इसका क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 दैट इज 5 वो कंपल्सरी लिखना ही है, और वो कैसा होता है 5 into 10 मार्क्स, 50 मार्क्स कंपल्सरी होता है उसमें, यू कैन नॉट चूज कि मैं नहीं लिखूंगा। देन क्वेश्चन अभी कितने बचे, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8। ओके, वेस्टर्न फिलोसॉफी हैज 5 questions or 4 questions, Indian philosophy has 4 questions. Western philosophy has question number 1, 2, 3, 4. Indian philosophy एक ही पेपर में, पेपर 1 है ना, Western Indian philosophy has question 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Question 1 and 5 compulsory, and जो बचा है 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 में से कोई भी 3 लिखने हैं, बट एक कैच है, कम से कम एक तो दोनों का लिखना है, and every question is basically 50 marks, every question is 50 marks. Okay, क्वेश्चन 1 and 5 जो कंपल्सरी है वो 5 into 10 वाले होते हैं, मतलब 10 मार्क्स के 5 क्वेश्चन, एंड क्वेश्चन 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 ये होते हैं 3 क्वेश्चंस, एटलीस्ट 1 फ्रॉम ईच, आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू, एंड ये 20-15-15 वाला सिस्टम होता है। पहला क्वेश्चन 20 मार्कर, दूसरा क्वेश्चन 15 मार्क, तीसरा क्वेश्चन 15 मार्क, 3-3 के सेट होते हैं, जैसे क्वेश्चन 2 इज दिस 3, क्वेश्चन 3 इज दिस 3, क्वेश्चन 4 इज दिस 3, लाइक दैट। समझ में आ गया, नहीं आया, आ गया ना। ये तो सिलेबस है, आप आई होप अभी जाके सिलेबस आफ्टर द लेक्चर गो एंड प्लीज गो एंड आल्सो लुक इनटू द सिलेबस, क्या है क्या नहीं है, दोज हु हैव थॉट ऑफ एंड डिसाइडेड ऑन दैट। इंडियन क्या है, वेस्टर्न, अभी इसमें डिटेल में नहीं जाऊंगा क्योंकि सिलेबस तो आपको मिल ही जाएगा। सोशियो पॉलिटिकल फिलोसफी, फिलोसफी ऑफ रिलीजन, ठीक है। नाउ दिस इज दी important thing to get, you know, for anything and especially in philosophy, first you have to understand which happens in the class, which the way it is happening for last around 1.5 hours now. Understand. Now what does understand means? Interlinking, meaning of the terms, terminology used. Like I said, now you know in a better way, isn't it? The definition of what metaphysics is and what epistemology is, as compared to it was before you started the class. That's how every thinker has to be understood, slowly, one by one, one by one. Then obviously revise means that term has to be revisited again and again, read again, try to understand again. The another caution, note of caution with respect to philosophy is, philosophy deals with abstract things. अभी आप पूछेंगे सर abstract क्या होता है, जो concrete नहीं है. We talk about chair, chair is black, you know, you can imagine, okay, chair है, chair black. But when I talk about Brahm, क्या imagine करोगे? समझ imagine ही नहीं हो रहा है. Okay, mind, क्या इमेजिन नहीं, एक्सपीरियंस हो रहा है लेकिन इमेजिन कैसे करेंगे? चेयर मैंगो तो इमेजिन हो जाता है क्योंकि कॉन्क्रीट चीजें हैं, बट माइंड क्या है? एब्स्ट्रैक्ट चीज है, समझ में आना मुश्किल होता है. इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू कैच दैट टर्म. समझ में आ रहा है व्हाट आई एम सेइंग? सो दैट्स व्हाट, लाइक जस्टिस, justice is the abstract term. There are instances of justice or injustice, but justice per se is an abstract term. It's not a concrete term. So concrete and abstract are antonyms of each other. So because of that, revision becomes very, 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 very important. Now simply, and what does revision means? Very simple. Just go back, when you go back home, whatever you have been written down in the class, read it again, printed notes, read it again, finish. After that is done, again read it, again read that. So you will say बार बार क्यों पढ़ना है? You will understand once you read third time, you will realize first time जब read कर रहा था कुछ समझ में आया ही नहीं था, अभी समझ में आ रहा है कि उस समय कुछ नहीं समझ में आया था. You know, you might have heard many great people like Mahatma Gandhi and others saying, when I read Bhagavad Gita every time I understand new message. सुना होगा, गीता जब भगवद गीता पढ़ता हूँ तो हर बार पढ़ता हूँ तो कुछ नया समझ में आता है. That's how it happens with any philosophical stuff. So you have to do it at least 10-15 times. Okay. Then interlink, वो तो हो ही जाएगा, बट उसका भी कुछ टेक्निक्स मैं बताऊंगा. फिर आंसर राइटिंग, वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. आंसर राइटिंग इज very very important, but no need to get into answer writing for now, apart from what you do here and whatever test that I will ask you, वो तो भी मैं आपको बताऊंगा. And deliberate is basically discussion and thinking, philosophy में बहुत काम आता है. This is the, I have put it in a cycle because it keeps on as a cycle. Like if you understand in the class, revise, interlink, then write, deliberate, you understand better the process again, because revision भी फिर से करना है, interlink भी फिर, everything has to be. एंड जितना ये घुमाएंगे फास्ट उतना जो तेल है निकलेगा बढ़िया वाला, जो नॉलेज का है. ठीक है. अंडरस्टैंड कंसेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी. ठीक है, ये तो अभी एक जैसे व्हाट इज प्रत्युत समत्व, ओके, व्हाट इज द लिंक बिटवीन कांट एंड शंकराचार्य, व्हाट इज द रिलेशन बिटवीन स्पिनोजा एंड रामानुजन. दिस आर जस्ट एग्जांपल. ऐसा ये अलग अलग सिलेबस के पॉइंट्स है, लिटिल एडवांस्ड, बट आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू इंडिकेटिव एज टू व्हाट डज दैट मीन. Schools of Buddhism, how one school is different than other, what is the relation between the two, how one kind of opposes or supports other. That's what the meaning of conceptual clarity. If I ask you the concept of Brahm given by Shankaracharya, उस पे आपको you need to have some 10 different points you should be able to say. It is ultimate reality, it is highest reality, it is achievable reality, कुछ there are many terms, but ये terms सिर्फ बोलने के लिए नहीं है. You need to keep those things in mind as the picture of Brahm in your mind. Okay. Ultimate reality का मतलब क्या है? क्या वो गोल है? हमारा पहला सिंपल क्वेश्चन होता है कि समथिंग इज रियलिटी मीन्स क्या वो राउंड है या चौकोन है या त्रिकोण है? That is the compulsion of your habitual brain which expect everything to be physical. Abstract कैसे इमेजिन करेंगे? और उसमें एक खासियत भी है, यू कैन इमेजिन एनीथिंग दैट यू वांट, बिकॉज उन्होंने भी नहीं बोला है कैसे इमेजिन करना है. ठीक है. दैट इज द बेनिफिट ऑफ philosophy in that way, ठीक है। तो ऐसे लाइक जैसे हमने ऑलरेडी बोला ना, एग्जिस्ट, एक्चुअल एंड रियल, क्या फर्क है, वी जस्ट टॉक्ड अबाउट इट। आई होप जिन्होंने ध्यान दिया उनको समझ में आएगा। देन रिवाइज, you make the notes, we already talk about one page one philosopher, that is the ultimate goal by the way, immediately nahi hoga, don't try for this in first reading, okay। in fact पहले 2-3 रीडिंग तक तो सेल्फ नोट बनाइए मत, just go back to the notes, read it again, underline, go back to the notes, read it again, underline, and then you'll start understanding कि अभी तो आ गया बहुत बार, अभी थोड़ा खुद का इससे अच्छा लिख सकता हूँ मैं, बिकॉज यहाँ जो बैठा है ना वो पेपर पे चाहिए इन द फॉर्म ऑफ नोट्स। ये भी एक मिसकंसेप्शन हुआ है कि ना इफ यू रीड समबडीज नोट्स, ऐसा नहीं होता, ओके। यू कैन टेक इंस्पिरेशन फ्रॉम दिस मेथड्स कि यार ये अच्छा तरीका है, ये डायग्राम करना, यू नो इट्स अ गुड वे ऑफ पुटिंग इट नोट्स, बट यू कैनॉट जस्ट, इट विल नॉट हेल्प यू, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली इट्स नॉट दैट यू हैव टू सबमिट योर नोट्स दैट टू यूपीएससी कि देखो यार मैंने सबमिट कर दी, इसको मार्क्स दे दो, दैट नोट हैज टू बी हियर, ओके। डायग्राम, माइंड मैप, okay, you know already this, cue quotes, terms, diagram. See, once you start doing things, everything of these things will appear, start appearing. But what is the most basic thing that you should focus on? The topics understanding and expression, समझ में आना और लिखना आना, नोट्स ऑटोमेटिक बन जाते हैं, ठीक है। बट obviously notes are very important, as the topic is abstract, you need to revisit again, we already discussed one stop solution for every philosopher। तो जैसे you make a system, not now, after 2 readings at least, एक जगह 3-4, like for example ऊपर लिखा प्लेटो, उसके अंदर everything that is relevant for examination on Plato is under this heading, it might be 3 pages, 2 pages, and after 6, 7, 8, 9 readings it will automatically become only 1 page, you know। How does that get reduced? Like the Plato's note that I will give you will have 12 pages, that to typed, then after 3-4 readings you will have your own notes, will have only 4 pages, and just before examination you will have only 1 page, one side of 1 page Plato is done। How? ऐसा हो सकता है? What do you think? ऐसा करना ही है, without that how would you revise in that 5 days? And if you practice it, automatic भी होगा, ठीक है ना। Written notes, क्लास डिक्टेशन, बुक्स ओनली फॉर द रेफरेंस, जब भी मैं बताऊंगा कुछ तभी, अदरवाइज नो नीड टू वरी अबाउट ये बुक वो बुक, वो बाद की चीज है, एज लॉन्ग एज यू हैव प्रिंटेड नोट्स एंड क्लास नोट्स, नो नीड टू वरी अबाउट एनीथिंग, ओके। इंटरलिंक कंपैरेटिव अप्रोच, ठीक है, इसको हम अभी के लिए स्किप करते हैं बिकॉज ये बाद की बात है, इंटरलिंक हो जाएगा वो, इट्स वेरी क्रूशियल फॉर मार्क्स एंड ऑल, you know, you will understand once you do the lecture, you understand, ठीक है। Answer writing we already know, very important. Why answer writing is important? One thing you tell me in philosophy specifically, something that we already discussed, एक ही point मुझे चाहिए वो सुनना है, rest तो answer writing सब जगह important है, you know that, even if some other optional, some GS, essay, everything is, writing is important, but why it is very important in philosophy? Okay, one thing is because it is abstract, he is right, unless you practice it's very difficult to be precise immediately, but I am still talking about something very simple. Answer writing is important because questions get repeated. If you have written the same question 2-3 times, you will just write it in 3-5 minutes answer. Why? You not even need 7 minutes, you know already causation, Hume, you just start writing, you already practice it 3-4 times. So answer writing becomes very important. And obviously the point that he mentioned, that because the terms and everything is very abstract, so you happen to write something vague and then in the paper checker knows that sorry समझ में नहीं आया, okay। So to catch hold of those precise concepts, you do that. How does Plato use theory of forms to establish the relation between epistemology and metaphysics? कुछ ऐसे questions है ना जो, you know, unless you revise you will not understand what, like this question is slightly advanced, क्या है? How does Plato use the theory of forms to establish the relation between epistemology and metaphysics? So he comes up with this theory of forms, but how that theory of forms, whatever his theory that we'll discuss, tries to establish a relationship between epistemology and metaphysics, of his epistemology of metaphysics, by the way. And obviously that is how something is known, what is knowledge and what is reality, how are they connected. ये हम जब सिलेबस पढ़ेंगे तो आपको समझ में आएगा कि इसमें मतलब इट्स वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन इफ यू सी, इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड द सिलेबस यू विल अंडरस्टैंड कि यार ये इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया इन्होंने, ठीक है. लाइक दिस ऑल्सो, उद्गल नैरत्म्यवाद धम्म नैरत्म्यवाद क्या डिफरेंस है, ठीक है. विल सी इट व्हेन विल डिस्कस अबाउट दिस. ओके, डेलिब्रेट वो तो हम डिस्कस वगैरह हम, ठीक है. कोर्स तो आपको पता ही है, 100 लेक्चर्स हैं. लेक्चर ऑन ईच पार्ट से डेलिब्रेटिव अप्रोच थ्रू, ठीक है. 5 days a week है, एग्जॉस्टिव नोट्स है, वो सब होगा. डेली आंसर राइटिंग, हाँ डेली इन द सेंस 4 days at least per week. You know, the moment you enter the class, first 7-8 minutes will be answer writing, then 5-7 minutes again I'll discuss what should be the point, and then lecture starts. Okay, so practice. 4 sectional test, 2 comprehensive test, mini test भी होंगे every week, वो तो हर Sunday test होते ही है. 4-5 question I ask on the basis of, and everything is linked with your revision. See, most important thing that you should look forward to when you plan anything, not just philosophy, is what is your revision plan till the August September 2026, क्योंकि otherwise you'll just keep on wasting your time. Okay, that also I'll give you some sample plan. Personalized doubt clearing वो तो any time you can do it. Personalized interview वो तो बात का है, ठीक है. So you just have to, last slide होगी शायद मेरे हिसाब से, the thing that I expect from your side. Okay, you just have to make sure. क्या make sure करना होगा बताओ? What I am expecting from you to make sure. What do you think? वो तो जनरल टर्म हो गया ना, वो तो हाँ डिसिप्लिन अच्छा करो, इसका क्या मतलब नहीं होता. आई विल बी सर्टेनली प्रिसाइज, राइट. पार्टिसिपेट, नॉट जस्ट लिसन इन द क्लास. मैं पूछ रहा हूँ, यहाँ पे नींद पूरी करने आने में कोई पॉइंट नहीं है, और ऑल द मोर इन फिलोसॉफी, क्योंकि कोई पॉइंट ही नहीं है फिर. इफ इट इज फिलोसॉफी एंड यू हैव जॉइंड समथिंग, if I am asking you to try to attempt, यहाँ पे कोई you are not going to use some award or something, right? So try to think and participate. नहीं समझ में आ रहा है पूछ लो. Let it be funniest level question, because philosophy में तो सबसे funny questions आते हैं, आने भी चाहिए, because we discuss about reality. Like if I say this chair doesn't exist, क्या बक रहा है सर, ये प्लेटो ने बोल दिया हम थोड़ी मानेंगे, ये तो बात सही है, ये चेयर दिख रही है उस पर बैठ रहा हूँ. somebody like Berkeley says no, everything is ideas. चेयर तो है ही नहीं, फिर वो क्या एक्सप्लेन कर रहा है, तो नहीं ये तो बकवास है, इसको मैं सुनूंगा ही नहीं, छोड़ दो, सर कहाँ आंसर देंगे इसका. इफ दैट इज दिस थिंग, व्हाट विल हैपन, यू विल नॉट ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव्स जो आपको नहीं पसंद आ रहे हैं, लेकिन लिखना तो पड़ेगा, ठीक है. सो डू नॉट जस्ट पार्टिसिपेट, डू नॉट जस्ट लिसन बट पार्टिसिपेट इन द क्लास, ठीक. यस, इंटरेक्टिव. सेकंड, टेक डाउन रनिंग नोट्स इन द क्लास, वो तो मैं खुद ही बता दूंगा कि लिख लो, बट अगेन नो आलस देयर. रीड द नोट्स, ओके, नथिंग एल्स इज रिक्वायर्ड अनलेस इंस्ट्रक्टेड. घर में जाके नोट्स प्रिंटेड पढ़ने और कुछ नहीं करना, ओके. बट एनीथिंग दैट यू रीड, नॉट जस्ट इन फिलोसॉफी अगेन बट अदरवाइज ऑल्सो, व्हेन यू गोइंग टू ओपन, जैसे गए घर में बैठे, चाय वाय लिया, टेबल पे बैठे, अभी मैं ओपन करने वाला हूँ, बीट लक्ष्मीकांत, बीट philosophy notes, ask yourself as to, I am reading this to know what this statement is saying. खुद को बोलो कि ये मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ, ओके. जस्ट क्लोज योर आइज एंड टेल योरसेल्फ, आई जस्ट वांट टू नो कि ये बोल क्या रहा है. अदरवाइज विदाउट दैट अप्रोच यू विल जस्ट रीड इट, समझ में कुछ नहीं आएगा, बिकॉज यू विल नॉट रीड इट विद दैट क्यूरियोसिटी, ये क्या बोल रहा है, नहीं समझ में आएगा, रीड इट अगेन, बिकॉज फिलोसॉफी में दिस इज रिक्वायर्ड समटाइम्स, बिकॉज इट्स वेरी समटाइम्स वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स स्टेटमेंट्स. क्या बोल रहा है, and try to connect it to this में पहले क्या बोला था, is it connecting, is it not connecting, and this is applicable again with everything that you read sitting on the table for your revision in library or whatever. नहीं है ये सब करना है तो यूपीएससी छोड़ दो, ये बेसिक है, बीट लक्ष्मीकांत, बीट एनीथिंग, क्या ओके व्हाट इज दिस सेइंग आर्टिकल 21, क्यों राइट टू लाइफ, ये जो व्हाई इट वाज एक्सटेंडेड टू एनवायरनमेंट एंड पता नहीं सीएनजी एंड ऑल दैट, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, पढ़ो, क्वेश्चन है ना, दे हैव गिवन द आंसर, व्हाई इट इज सो, व्हाई आर दे सेइंग दिस, and especially the notes that you get it, not just philosophy, current affairs, GS foundation, notes you are getting means it's something really essence of something. Okay, newspaper article might be not very important sometimes, thoda general hai na, notes are like specifically curated for you na, be it current affairs note, geography notes or philosophy notes, and philosophy all the more because Plato is saying something, क्यों बोल रहा है ये, if you do not have this perspective, even if you sit for 2 hours and you read whole notes, पूरा नीला काला भी कर दिया, समझ में कुछ नहीं आएगा, ये नहीं होना चाहिए, दैट इज द बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट। एंड आई एम अज्यूमिंग कि ये समझ के ही आप यूपीएससी का डिसीजन, यूपीएससी का फॉरगेट और फिलोसफी का, यूपीएससी का डिसीजन लिए कि ये करना पड़ेगा, सामने बैठ के सोचना पड़ेगा, ठीक है, फिलोसफी में तो बहुत ज़्यादा, बट वही एक काम करना है, बाकी कुछ नहीं है फिलोसफी। डू नॉट मिस आंसर राइटिंग इन द क्लास, कि नहीं थोड़ा होता है, बच्चे लेट आते हैं, यार पहले 5-6 मिनट तो क्लास आंसर राइटिंग करवाते हैं सर, लेक्चर थोड़ी शुरू होता है भाई, लेकिन वही सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है, बिकॉज every morning the answer writing is based on whatever I have taught yesterday or day before yesterday in the class, not even in the notes. So even if you are not read the notes for some reasons that day, you still will be able to write the answer because you have listened, सिर्फ क्लास में जो बोला है वही क्वेश्चन पूछता हूँ, ठीक है, बट आंसर राइटिंग फॉर्म में 10 मार्क्स। ऑब्वियसली डू नॉट मिस मिनी टेस्ट, एंड आई विल टेल यू रिवीजन प्लान में वो कहाँ बैठता है, ठीक है, मिनी टेस्ट मतलब कब होगा, संडे, ठीक है, क्लियर योर डाउट्स देन एंड देयर इटसेल्फ, वही होगा, स्टार्ट मेकिंग योर ओन शॉर्ट नोट्स ओनली आफ्टर एटलीस्ट 3 रिवीजन, ये हमेशा याद रखो, पहले से ही नोट्स के पीछे मत, पहले समझ लो, एंड द मोमेंट यू रीड 2-3 times, 3 and properly times means that many times that chapter is over, revisit it, automatically you will start feeling urge from inside कि इसके अलग से नोट बनाने चाहिए, अभी मुझे समझ में आ गया, अभी बस याद रखने के लिए कुछ बनाना, ये हो जाता है। कीप अपडेटिंग योर नोट्स विद सब्सिक्वेंट रीडिंग्स, वो होता ही है। अभी इसका एक रिवीजन प्रोग्रेशन जो कन्वेंशनली या एक सैंपल के रूप में मैं आपको एक दिखा रहा हूँ, हाउ इट कैन यू कैन गो एंड हाउ आई वुड माई कोर्स विल सपोर्ट। ओके, first reading, I would not say revision, no, it would be revision because in the class you would be listen to many things. So first revision is on the same day, on the same topic. If I taught Plato today, half of the Plato, go back and read that half of the Plato in the same notes that I have provided. I will make sure that you get the notes beforehand. On the same day you have to do it, otherwise you will not understand, especially first 2 weeks, because unless you get into philosophy, you have to put little efforts to get into. अदरवाइज क्या है, पैरेलल चलता रहेगा, आपको कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, नोट्स इकट्ठा हो गया, घर पे रखे हुए, क्लास में भी जाता हूँ, नाश्ता वास्ता करके चाय पी के थोड़ा नींद आ जाती है, सो भी जाता हूँ, ये नहीं, दैट्स नॉट अ गुड। नंबर 1, ऑन द सेम डे व्हेन द लेक्चर इज हैपनिंग, मंडे आज लेक्चर हुआ, आज जाके पढ़ना है कि जो आप आज का हैंड आउट मिलेगा, नोट्स मिलेंगे। यस यस, ऑब्वियसली इट विल बी इवेल्युएटेड बाय मी, it will be properly evaluated with marks and uploaded on the portal. Okay, and if it is physical, obviously I will, it will be treated as proper test series kind test. Only thing is it will be shorter ones because आप शुरू में ही लिख रहे हैं, तो it will be shorter marks, not 250 mark, full length वगैरह नहीं होंगे, 5 क्वेश्चन 6 क्वेश्चन ऐसे होंगे, it will be enough for a week. Every week means every week. Then, so first on the same day, second when you read for the mini test. Now just imagine we studied Plato generally takes 2 days, Monday Tuesday, then we studied Aristotle, it takes 2 days, okay, so Wednesday Thursday, and we might have started off with Descartes on Friday. Now what will happen, Plato you read that day, Monday only, half of the Plato, Tuesday, so एक रीडिंग हो गया प्लेटो का, अरिस्टोटल का भी हो गया, डेकार्ट का भी फ्राइडे को हो गया, उतना ही पार्ट। सैटरडे और संडे पूरा, क्योंकि संडे मंडे 11 बजे तक आपको अपलोड करना है, सो मंडे शाम तक, सैटरडे शाम को आप टेस्ट लिखते हैं, संडे शाम को आप टेस्ट लिखेंगे, तो पूरा सैटरडे और पूरा संडे आप वही जो सिलेबस है प्लेटो और अरिस्टोटल फिर से रिवाइज करना है। तो मिनी टेस्ट के लिए दूसरा रिवीजन हो गया। इट इज प्रैक्टिकल राइट, इसमें कोई जो मैं बता रहा हूँ इम्प्रैक्टिकल थोड़ी है। फिर जब सेक्शनल टेस्ट होगी, बाय द वे उसके बाद आपको मौका नहीं मिलेगा प्लेटो और अरिस्टोटल पढ़ने का इमीडिएटली, बिकॉज यू हैव टू गो बैक टू द डेकार्ट एंड देन अदर फेलोज, कंटिन्यूसली चलता रहेगा, क्लास तो बंद नहीं होगा बीच में। सो जब सेक्शन खत्म होगा तो हो सकता है उस समय 2-3 दिन 4 दिन ऐसा गैप देके सेक्शनल टेस्ट रखेंगे, उस समय आपको पूरा सेक्शन रिवाइज करना है, वो थोड़ा फास्ट करना पड़ेगा। बट बाय द वे यू ऑलरेडी स्टडीड इट ट्वाइस हर टॉपिक, तो आसान हो जाता है। देन फाइनल टेस्ट जब होगा तो पूरा सिलेबस के लिए आपको रिवीजन को कम से कम 2 वीक्स दिए जाएंगे। मतलब जैसे ऐसे करेंगे कि 1 वीक इंडियन पेपर 1, 1 वीक पेपर 2, और दैट इज भी पूरा छुट्टी, तो आपको 6-8 घंटे फिलोसफी पढ़नी है उस समय, ठीक है। फाइनल एफएलटी समझ रहे हैं, फुल लेंथ टेस्ट, होल सिलेबस कितनी बार रिवीजन हो गए। फिर आफ्टर कंप्लीशन ऑफ द कोर्स एंड बिफोर स्टार्टिंग योर प्रीलिम्स प्रिपरेशन, फिर से आपको एक बार पूरा सिलेबस पढ़ के उसको खत्म करके रखना है। ये एडिशनल है लेकिन ये थोड़ा मस्ट है और ये थोड़ा फास्ट करना होता है। दिस विल बी समवेयर अराउंड 15th जनवरी करना ही पड़ेगा। एंड देन उसको बांध के आपने रख दिया कि हो गया मेरा फिलोसफी। अभी सी आफ्टर फुल लेंथ टेस्ट फिर से एक बार रिवाइज करने की बात कर रहा हूं मैं, एंड आई कैन गारंटी यू आफ्टर राइटिंग अ टेस्ट, इसके पहले भी आप पढ़ रहे हो लेकिन आफ्टर राइटिंग यू टेस्ट यू डू इट, it will be like very very useful because you already gone through the test. If you revise it will be much more productive. फिर आपने प्रीलिम्स की पढ़ाई शुरू कर दी, प्रीलिम्स खत्म हो गई, 6th रिवीजन इज जस्ट आफ्टर प्रीलिम्स in the June, even before result comes, you should have touched upon, because see this would be what 6th time you are reading the same thing, and by the way same things means literally same thing, page wise भी same, और कुछ इधर उधर जाना भी नहीं है। So 6th reading after the prelims, that is June 2026, obviously whole syllabus. Now here in July you have to at least read 6 hours per day only philosophy, करना ही पड़ता है those who know, and 1 month बहुत होता है आपको फिलोसफी पूरा पढ़ने के लिए। अगेन यू हैव टू जस्ट रिविजिट, रीड इट अगेन, ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड अगेन हियर, ठीक। फिर 7th and 8th, नाउ एक साथ मैंने 2 क्यों बोले हैं, एक साथ 2 क्यों बोले हैं, बिकॉज ये फास्ट वाली रिवीजन है, you are preparing yourself for the test series that is starting in July mostly. This how every time timetable. So ये 2 बार रिवाइज तो करना ही पड़ेगा क्योंकि 20 डेज के अंदर आपको दोनों रिवीजन हो जाएंगे। ये सब हो जाता है बाय द वे जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ, ठीक है। रिविजन्स इन जुलाई टू बिफोर टेस्ट सीरीज, okay, 20 days or 30 days also you can take it. Then 9th revision, that is during test series, जैसे संडे को टेस्ट है तो उसका सिलेबस हफ्ता भर पढ़ लिया, फिर नेक्स्ट संडे हफ्ता, ये तो पता ही है आपको, दैट्स हाउ टेस्ट सीरीज वर्क्स। बट बाय दिस टाइम you would have already have your own notes, shorter ones, your philosophy is completely घुसा हुआ, you are like ask me anything situation if you really do it like this. फिर 10th is only 10-day revision. Now this 10th revision that you will be doing in somewhere, you know, July end or August mainly, that is aim is this one thinker one page reaching there. ये इसके लिए वो रिवीजन है कि अभी मुझे I am preparing for those 5 days. Which 5 days I am talking about? Just after GS4, essay, everything. वहाँ पे बीच में 5 दिन का गैप होता है, फिर फिलोसॉफी होता है, ये पता है ना? नहीं पता? ओके, तो वो 3 दिन एग्जाम होती है, फ्राइडे सैटरडे संडे मेरे हिसाब से, फिर मंडे टू फ्राइडे सैटरडे फिर छुट्टी होती है और संडे को एग्जाम होती है, दैट इज फिलोसॉफी ऑप्शनल पेपर, दैट इज द लास्ट पेपर। तो वो 5 दिन के लिए आपको तैयारी करनी है। उसमें फिलोसॉफी में एम इज टू हैव वन थिंकर वन पेज मस्ट फॉर द लास्ट रिवीजन इन द लास्ट 5 days, एंड सी everything is connected to what? First revision on the same day, and ये मिनिमम है, उसके बाद आप जितना 5 days बिफोर द मेंस एग्जामिनेशन लास्ट रिवीजन है वो उससे ज़्यादा भी हो जाता है। वैसे एक बार छोटा आ गया ना तो यू रिवाइज इट 2-3 टाइम जस्ट लाइक दैट। दिस इज ओनली फॉर रिविजन। पैरेलली आंसर राइटिंग चल रहा है वो अलग बात, वो टेस्ट सीरीज में हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, ठीक है। डज दिस मेक इम्प्रैक्टिकल और डिफिकल्ट बट डूएबल? डिफिकल्ट तो है ऑब्वियसली, वी हैव टू मेंटेन द कंसिस्टेंसी, बट डूएबल, राइट? ठीक है, आई थिंक दिस वुड बी द लास्ट स्लाइड ओनली। सो इसका मुझे मतलब बताओ। अंटिल फिलोसोफर्स आर किंग्स और द किंग्स हैव द स्पिरिट एंड पावर ऑफ द फिलोसफी, cities will never cease or never rest from their evils. Let us see who can decode this. कुछ समझ में आ रहा है? Until philosophers are kings or the kings have the spirit and power of philosophy, cities will never rest from their evils. देखो, philosopher means philosopher somebody who has broad perspective, larger perspective, okay? Kings means somebody sitting at the powerful position, authority, okay? Authority same. Spirit and power of philosophy. Now here philosophy means broad thinking, analytical understanding, larger perspective, okay? Not succumb to the narrow thinking person. Generally, have you ever thought philosopher to be, अरे वो तो बहुत, somebody who is a philosopher, अरे वो तो बहुत highly immoral है, ऐसा होगा कभी? Very rarely. मतलब ना के बराबर. If some, we consider Gandhi ji, Vivekananda, these are philosophers, but they are great personalities also. So philosopher means somebody who is large-hearted also in that way. Cities means basically societies, cities will never have rest from their evil. Evils means problems. तो क्या बोल रहे हैं? Somebody who is sitting at the powerful position of authority, either must be philosopher himself, मतलब somebody who has a broad perspective, or have some spirit of philosophy in him. ब्रॉड पर्सपेक्टिव, जिसको हम बोलते हैं विजनरी लीडर। विजन किसका होता है? जो देख पाता है, हु कैन सी, हु कैन थिंक, अंडरस्टैंड, ग्रास्प। सो ये प्लेटो ने बहुत फेमस स्टेटमेंट दिया था, ये डायरेक्टली सिविल सर्विस को अप्लाई मैं करता हूँ, बिकॉज दिस आई कंसिडर इज एक्चुअली एप्ट कोड फॉर द एथिक्स पेपर। इफ यू वांट टू बी सिविल सर्वेंट, it's better you have a sense of philosophy, in the sense morality, ethics, selflessness, conscience. These things should be very day to day for you if you really want to sit in powerful position. Do you agree that somebody sitting in powerful position need to be more responsible? Okay, so if thoda quote importance of philosophy in the context of powerful position, basically for our sake, civil servant, if you are going to be holding the power over so many people, then it's always better that somebody has some training in philosophy. And by the way, in Labasana also they do give this training of philosophy. Somebody who knows about Buddha, somebody who knows about Jaina, Mahavir, Mahatma Gandhi, we generally expect them to be more proactive vis-a-vis people. Okay, so that was the my. If you have any doubts, next class is on Monday, not tomorrow, day after tomorrow. We are starting from the first lecture, that is introduction of Indian philosophy, on Monday. That is, what is the date? 4th. Date sahi hai na? Monday is 4th. Yes. So same timing, 11:30 Monday. If you have any doubts, please ask. Otherwise, I'll just wait for 1 or 2 minutes because there is some lag for the YouTube people. Okay, and that's all from my side. Next lecture again, I am reiterating, 11:30 Monday, 4th August. There is no as such lecture tomorrow, day after. You can prepare yourself. You might ask, sir, फिर तब तक क्या करें? 2-3 दिन है. Go through PYQs just to have a flavor. Don't even study, just flavor. Syllabus क्या है? ठीक है? And try to also, if possible, search on the internet कि इसका क्या meaning है. Sir ने तो बोला था ये epistemology का ये meaning है. Just try to remember whatever we discussed today. Okay? I think they will upload some write up also of this. I had given the write up. I don't know, they should have given the printout by now, but if not, they would upload there in description of this video on YouTube. मतलब जनरल इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ फिलोसफी जो हमने बात किया वही है, बट फॉर यू वो सिलेबस के वट एवर वी डिस्कस टुडे इज नॉट इसमें सिलेबस के लिए याद रखने वाला कुछ नहीं है, पता है ना, जस्ट जनरल इंट्रोडक्शन एज टू व्हाई हाउ इट इज गोइंग टू बी, हाउ द कोर्स इज गोइंग टू बी, ठीक है. सो इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट प्लीज आस्क, अदरवाइज थैंक यू वेरी मच. ठीक है, आई थिंक इनका भी कोई देयर इज नो सीम टू बी नो क्वेश्चन, and if you have any question, obviously, otherwise also if you want to talk to, you can reach out to me anytime, which I had said in the other video also, the advertisement video that they had made some a week back. So you have any doubt, you can talk to me or get in touch with me. Okay, okay. Thank you very much, hope to see you on 4th.